There are moments in life when heaven whispers before it shouts. Most of us are waiting for thunder, for signs written across the sky, for miracles that shake the ground beneath our feet. But what if the warning does not come in power? What if it comes in weakness? What if the voice of God reaches you not through a king on a throne, but through a dying woman lying alone in the quiet of night? We are drawn to strength. We are tired of fear. God grows God often writes eternal messages inside fragile vessels. A dying woman does not look like a messenger. She looks like someone who needs help, someone who has nothing left to offer. But heaven measures value differently than we do. Imagine her. Her hands tremble. Her breath grows shallow. Her voice is faint, but her eyes are clear. She has seen things that you have not yet discovered. She has walked through joy and sorrow, through love and betrayal, through faith and doubt, and now at the edge of eternity, she sees more clearly than ever before. The world is fading, but she is sharp. Why would God warn us for someone if he loses everything? Because when the body weakens, the soul often speaks louder. When distractions fall away, eternity draws near. And when a person stands at the doorway between time and forever, their words carry a weight we dare not ignore. Perhaps she is not merely dying. Perhaps she is revealing. We live as if tomorrow is guaranteed. We chase success, comfort, recognition. We postpone kindness. We delay forgiveness. We silence conviction. But the dying woman cannot afford illusions. Time has become precious beyond measure. Every breath is a reminder that life is not endless. And in her fading strength, she becomes a mirror to our denial. God's warning may not be about her condition. It may be about ours. She may whisper, "Do not waste your days." She may plead, "Love while you can." She may confess, "I regret the things I feared more than the things I attempted." She may testify, "God was faithful even when I was not." And if we listen carefully, we may realize the warning is not frightening. It is merciful. There is something sacred about the end of life. The masks fall. Pretenses dissolve. Pride loses its purpose. The dying woman no longer cares about impressing anyone. She cares about truth. And truth, when spoken by someone who has nothing left to gain, carries unusual authority. But here is the danger. We often turn away. We tell ourselves it is too uncomfortable, too sad, too heavy. We scroll past suffering. We avoid hospital rooms. We change the subject when conversations grow eternal. In doing so, we may be ignoring the very message heaven is trying to deliver. God does not waste pain. He does not waste endings. He does not waste final breaths. If a woman stands at the border of eternity, her life becomes a signpost. She points beyond herself. She reminds us that we are travelers, not permanent residents. What if God is saying, "Look closely, this is where every road leads"? Not to despair, but to awakening. Her weakness confronts our pride. Her fading breath confronts our arrogance. Her approaching eternity confronts our distractions. And suddenly, the question is no longer about her dying. It is about our living. Are we prepared? Are we loving well? Are we forgiving quickly? Are we walking with God now, or only planning to later? The dying woman may not preach a sermon. She may barely speak at all. But her existence becomes a message carved in fragile flesh. Life is free. Eternity is real. God is near. If we ignore her, we may be ignoring the warning meant to save us. Do not wait for a louder sign. Do not demand a greater miracle. Sometimes heaven chooses the quietest voice to carry the most urgent truth. Listen, because one day it will be our turn to stand at that doorway. And what we choose now will echo then from the beginning of time. Humanity has associated power with strength. We are impressed by what shines, what conquers, what stands tall without trembling. Yet again and again, heaven chooses what appears fragile to carry what is eternal. It is a strange pattern, one that confuses our instincts. We expect God to speak through thunder, through rulers, through public victories. But instead, he often chooses weakness, the trembling hand, the fading voice, the unnoticed life, and if we are honest, this unsettles us. We would prefer a message wrapped in confidence and certainty. We would rather receive instruction from someone who appears unbreakable. But divine wisdom does not follow our preferences. Weakness has a way of silencing distractions. When a person stands stripped of physical strength, stripped of influence, stripped even of time itself, something deeper begins to shine. It is as if the outer shell fades so the inner reality can be seen without obstruction. The dying woman does not command attention by force. She does not demand applause. Yet her very fragility speaks. It speaks of limits. It speaks of dependence. It speaks of the truth that every human being, no matter how strong today, will one day grow weak. And perhaps that is precisely why God uses such vessels. Strength can intimidate, but weakness invites reflection. Strength may impress the mind, but weakness often pierces the heart. When we see someone losing physical power, we are confronted with our own mortality. We are reminded that our achievements cannot shield us from time. The dying woman becomes a living parable. Her frailty exposes the illusion of sheer self-sufficiency. It reveals that beneath our confidence lies dependence rather ignored. And in that revelation, God speaks. He speaks not to shame, but to awaken. He speaks not to terrify, but to rescue us from pride. There is something profoundly disarming about weakness. It lowers defenses. It quiets arguments. No one debates loudly at the bedside of a dying woman. No one boasts about accomplishments in the presence of fading breath. Weakness humbles the room, and humility is fertile soil for truth. When strength dominates, we are tempted to trust human ability. But when weakness is undeniable, we begin to search for something greater. We begin to sense that if life can slip away so easily, then perhaps it was never ours to control completely. The dying woman, in her quiet suffering, becomes evidence that human power is temporary. And through that evidence, God whispers a warning: do not build your hope on what cannot last. It is easy to admire strength because it reflects our ambition. It is harder to value weakness because it reveals our limitations. Yet limitation is not an accident. It is a teacher. It reminds us that we are creatures, not creators of eternity. When God speaks through weakness, he dismantles our illusion of independence. He calls us back to dependence on him. The trembling voice may carry more eternal weight than the confident speech. The fading body may reveal more truth on the stadium than the cheering crowd. Weakness kept away from the front. The key moment is when it is spoken. A dying woman has no reason to protect. Her words are often honest, because she has nothing left to protect. In that honesty lies a rare clarity. God uses such clarity to confront us gently but firmly. He asks us whether we are living as though we will never weaken, whether we are trusting in strength that cannot survive time. There is mercy hidden in this pattern. If God only spoke through the powerful, many would assume through the overlooked, through those the world might dismiss. And that is both comforting and sobering. Comforting because it means no life is too small to matter. Sobering because it means no excuse remains for ignoring the message. If we walk away from weakness, we may be walking away from divine instruction. The dying woman's frailty becomes a mirror held before us. It asks whether we recognize our own needs. It asks whether we are prepared for the day when our strength fades as well. God often treats what appears breakable to reveal what is unbreakable. He uses temporary weakness to point toward eternal reality. And if we learn to listen, we may discover that the quieting voices sometimes carry the loudest warning. There is something about the nearness of death that clears the fog of personal vision. When time stretches endlessly before us, we treat it carelessly. We postpone decisions. We excuse habits. We imagine that tomorrow will provide another opportunity to correct what we neglect today. But when death approaches, tomorrow shrinks. The horizon that once seemed distant moves suddenly close, And in that closeness, life appears different. The dying woman no longer views her days as countless coins to be spent without thought. Each remaining moment feels weighty, deliberate, almost sacred. And in that sacred narrowing of time, truth sharpens. The things that once felt urgent begin to look small. Arguments that once consumed energy appear trivial. Possessions lose their shine. Status loses its voice. What once seemed central to existence drifts to the edges, and what was neglected often moves to the center. Love becomes more valuable than recognition. Forgiveness becomes more urgent than pride. Peace becomes more desirable than victory. It is not that these truths were hidden before. It is that we were distracted. We were busy arranging our lives around temporary concern. Nearness to eternity rearranges everything. It strips life down to its essentials. The dying woman sees with unusual clarity because illusions can no longer survive in the presence of finality. She understands perhaps more deeply than ever before that time is not a possession but a gift. She recognizes that relationships outlast achievements in the memory of the heart. She senses that character weighs more heavily than accomplishment. And in her awareness there is both sorrow and wisdom. Sorrow for what was wasted, wisdom for what still remains. When death draws near, honesty tends to rise. There is little energy left for pretense. Masks feel too heavy to wear. The dying woman often speaks plainly because she has no reason to impress and no strength left to pretend. She may admit fears she once concealed. She may confess regrets she once denied. She may express gratitude more freely than she ever did before. In her vulnerability, truth becomes simple. Life, she might say, is shorter than we believe. Love, she might insist, matters more than we realize. Faith, she might whisper, becomes clearer when eternity stands close. The clarity that emerges is not born from despair, but from perspective. When we stand at the edge of something vast and unknown, we begin to measure our path differently. Achievements shrink beside eternity. Failures lose some of their power. What remains significant are the choices that shape the soul. Nearness of death acts like a lens that magnifies what truly matters and blurs what does not. And this lens is not cruel. It is corrective. It reveals what we were always meant to see but often ignored. The dying woman's clarity is a quiet invitation to the living. She becomes a witness that life should be evaluated before it is almost finished. Why wait for the final hour to recognize what is precious? Why allow the approach of death to teach lessons that could guide us now? The tragedy is not that clarity comes near the end. The tragedy is that we resist it while we have time to act. We avoid thinking about mortality. It is unsettling. Yet in avoiding it, we also avoid wisdom. The nearness of death reminds us that our days are numbered, and numbering our days can lead to understanding. It forces us to ask questions we would rather postpone. Are we reconciled with those we love? Are we living according to what we claim to believe? Are we investing in what will endure beyond our own breath? The dying woman's awareness carries a gentle but firm warning. Do not wait until your strength fades to seek what matters most. Her clarity is not meant to burden us, but to awaken us. It is a gift wrapped in frailty. She stands at the threshold between time and eternity, and from that threshold she sees with sharpened sight. The world grows dim, but meaning grows bright. And if we are willing to listen, her vision can become our guidance. We need not approach death to gain wisdom. We need only learn from those who stand near it. The truth she sees is available to us now, if we dare to look beyond distraction and measure our lives in the light of eternity, rather than the noise of the present moment. We speak often about time as though it were an endless river, flowing without limits, always offering another chance to step in, to say, there will be tomorrow, with a confidence that has never been guaranteed to us. Yet when we stand beside someone whose tomorrows have nearly run out, our language changes. The dying woman does not speak casually about next year. She does not assume another decade. Time for her is no longer an abstract concept measured by calendars and clocks. It is a fragile fragile treasure slipping gently through her fingers. In watching her hold what little remains, we begin to realize how recklessly we have treated our own supply. Time is the one possession equally given to all and equally taken from all. Wealth cannot purchase more of it. Strength cannot wrestle it back. Intelligence cannot negotiate its extension. It moves forward quietly, faithfully, without prejudice. Yet because it moves quietly, we underestimate it. We spend hours on resentments that will not matter in a year. We invest days in pursuits that will not matter in eternity. We postpone apologies because pride feels urgent. We delay kindness because convenience feels important. And all the while, time continues to step past us. The dying woman becomes a living reminder that what we call ordinary days are, in truth, extraordinary opportunities. She may look back and wish she had lingered longer in moments she once rushed through. She may realize that the evenings spent worrying could have been spent loving. She may see clearly that many of the fears that controlled her were never worthy of such control. And in her reflection, there is a quiet lesson for us. Do not wait to value what will soon be gone. It is a strange human habit to assume abundance where there is none. We treat time as though it were stored in vast warehouses, available whenever we choose to retrieve it. But it is more like breath once released, it cannot be reclaimed. Each morning arrives as a gift wrapped in possibility, yet by nightfall it has already become history. The dying woman understands this in a way that helps optimism. For her, a single hour may have more meaning than an entire month once held. A brief conversation may feel like gold. A distant smile may carry the weight of treasure. When time grows scarce, its value becomes tragedy is not the final. Tragedy is that we live, will not, we we complain while the quiet currency of our lives slips away unnoticed. The dying woman's presence interrupts this illusion. She stands as evidence that our days are numbered, whether we choose to count them or not. And in that numbering there is wisdom waiting to be embraced. To recognize that time is precious is not to live in fear. It is to live with intention. It is to speak words that build rather than wound. It is to choose forgiveness over prolonged bitterness. It is to invest in relationships rather than merely in reputation. It is to seek what is eternal rather than what is temporary. The awareness of limited time can sharpen heart, deepen gratitude for recognition, transform may not need to. Her circumstances preaches for her. A short horizon becomes a mirror reflecting our extended one, asking whether we are using it wisely. Are we spending our days in ways that align with what we claim matters most? Or are we postponing the very things that give life its meaning? It is easy to assume that there will be another opportunity to say, I love you, another chance to reconcile, another season to pursue what truly matters. But time does not promise such generosity. The dying woman's final days reveal what we often conceal from ourselves. Life is brief, and brevity demands purpose. To treat time as precious is to recognize that each moment carries eternal weight. It is to understand that the small decisions of today shape the legacy of tomorrow. We cannot stretch our days indefinitely, but we can fill them with what endures. We can choose love over indifference, courage over delay, faith over complacency. In doing so, we honor the gifts we have been given. The dying woman's fading strength is not only a reminder of mortality, it is an invitation to awakening. It calls us to examine how we spend the quiet wealth of our hours. It urges us not to squander what cannot be replaced. For one day our own supply will diminish, and we will look back upon the life we shaped with the time entrusted to us. The question is not whether time will run out, but whether we will recognize its value before it does. There is a quiet instinct within us that recoils from suffering. We turn down the volume when the news grows tragic. We change the subject when conversations drift toward death. We walk past hospital rooms with lowered eyes, as though sorrow were contagious. It is not cruelty that drives this avoidance, but discomfort. Pain unsettles the neat structure we have built around our lives. It reminds us that control is fragile and that security can dissolve without warning. And so, to preserve our comfort, we often distance ourselves from suffering. Yet in doing so, we may be distancing ourselves from something far greater than discomfort. We may be stepping away from the very place where truth is speaking most clearly. The dying woman lies at the center of this tension. Her condition confronts us with realities we would rather postpone. Her frailty forces questions we have skillfully ignored. If we draw near, we cannot pretend that life is endless. If we listen, we cannot continue living carelessly. Suffering has a way of stripping away illusions, and illusions are often what make us feel safe. It is easier to remain among the healthy and the strong, where laughter drowns out deeper reflection. It is easier to stay in spaces where youth and vitality create the impression that time is generous. But suffering interrupts that narrative. It reminds us that every life moves toward an ending. When we avoid the dying woman, we may tell ourselves we are simply protecting our emotions. In truth, we may be protecting our denial. Pain acts like a mirror, and not everyone wishes to look. It reflects our vulnerabilities, our mortality, our limits. It reveals that we are not immune to what she is experiencing, and that realization unsettles us. Yet mirrors, though uncomfortable, are necessary. Without them, we walk through life unaware of what needs attention. Without them, we remain ignorant of truths that could guide us wisely. Suffering, particularly at the edge of life, has a clarifying effect. It reduces distractions. It simplifies priorities. It exposes what truly matters. The dying woman may speak only a few words, but her circumstances speak volumes. She does not need the lecture about the brevity of life. Her condition declares it. She does not need to argue about the importance of love. The tenderness in the room makes it evident. Turn away from her, we must not only her story, but also the lesson of the avoiding feels like pretending to become lost. There is wisdom available in places to say we cannot stand in relationship. Comfort rarely forces us to examine our lives. Success seldom how we reflect on our foundation. Suffering does. Presses upon the mind. What we are born to endure. Challenges the values and adoptions our perspective. Doubt whether we are investing in what lasts or merely in what entertains. The dying woman's weakness becomes a silent teacher. Her presence raises questions we might never ask in a room filled with celebration. Are we prepared for the day our strength fades? Are we living in a way that will bring peace when our final hour arrives? These questions are not morbid. They are meaningful. They draw us toward intentional living, yet they only emerge when we are willing to sit with discomfort. To ignore suffering is to choose ignorance over insight. It is to prefer temporary ease over lasting wisdom. Of course, compassion can feel heavy. Bearing witness to pain is not simple. It demands emotional courage. It requires humility. It asks us to admit that we cannot fix everything. But in that admission, something profound occurs. We learn empathy. We learn gratitude. We learn dependence on something greater than ourselves. The dying woman's suffering is not meaningless noise to be silenced. It is a solemn message to be considered. When we sit beside her, when we listen rather than flee, we begin to understand that pain often carries revelation. It reveals the fragility of life, the importance of love, the necessity of faith. If we constantly escape such moments, we may preserve our comfort, but we impoverish our understanding. We remain shallow when depth is being offered. There is a strange mercy hidden within the sorrow. It draws attention to eternal reality. It reminds us that this world, for all its beauty, is not permanent. And if we refuse to approach it, we may miss the warning intended to wait. And perhaps we need her honesty more than we realize. In facing suffering rather than fleeing it, we gain clarity that comfort alone could never provide. There is something profoundly unsettling about watching strength fade. We admire independence, confidence, and control because they give the illusion of permanence. We build identities around capability. We measure worth by productivity. we quietly assume that as long as we remain strong, we remain secure. But when we stand beside a dying woman whose body can no longer obey her will, whose hands tremble despite determination, whose voice weakens against her desire to speak, we are confronted with a truth we rarely entertain. Strength is temporary. And in that confrontation, something deeper is exposed, not only her frailty, but our own spiritual condition. Weakness has a way of uncovering what strength can conceal. When life is comfortable and health is stable, it is easy to believe we are self-sufficient. We make plans confidently. We speak about the future as though it were guaranteed. We rely on routines that create a sense of control. Yet physical decline dismantles this illusion piece by piece. The dying woman cannot rely on her body as she once did. She cannot command her energy. She cannot extend her day through effort. In her limitation, she stands as living evidence that human power has boundaries, and those boundaries force a question upon us. If our bodies can fail, if our abilities can diminish, then what are we truly depending on? Her weakness becomes a mirror reflecting our hidden foundations. Are we trusting in strength that will inevitably fade? Have we built our security on health, success, reputation, or influence? These things appear stable when they are present, but they are fragile. They can be altered by a diagnosis, an accident, a single moment beyond our control. The dying woman's frailty does not merely evoke sympathy. It invites strength. And when that borrowed strength begins to return to its source, what remains? Weakness also exposes the condition of the heart. When strength is abundant, pride can thrive unnoticed. We may believe our achievements are entirely self-made. We may assume our resilience is proof of often deny. For even in health, we rely on countless unseen factors. Breath we do not create, hearts that beat without our command, days that arrive without our effort. Weakness makes visible what was always true. It strips away the illusion of autonomy. It reveals that beneath our independence lies reliance on something greater. Spiritually, this revelation is critical. If we never confront our limitations, we may never seek help beyond ourselves. We may live under the false belief that we are sufficient, but sufficiency crumbles in the presence of mortality. The dying woman's body speaks a silent sermon: you are not invincible. And this message, though uncomfortable, is merciful, for only where we recognize our vulnerability can we search for lasting strength. Her weakness asks us whether our faith is theoretical or anchored. We seek an eternity casually, prepared for it. Do we claim trust in God while secretly trusting in our own stability? The approach of death clarifies these questions with startling precision. There is little room for pretense when breath grows thin. Weakness simplifies belief. It exposes whether hope rests in temporary comfort or eternal promise. It reveals whether peace is rooted in circumstance or in something unshakable. The dying woman's condition may stir fear in us because it foreshadows our own future. Yet it can also stir wisdom. It urges us to evaluate our spiritual foundation before crisis demands it. It invites us to cultivate humility while strength remains. For humility embraced willingly is gentler than humility imposed by circumstance. There is dignity in recognizing our need before it becomes exposure, we are given an opportunity to adjust our foundations while time still allows. The warning is often mistaken for cruelty, when it is, in truth, an expression of care. We tend to associate warning with fear, with restriction, with the interruption of our desires. Yet every loving voice that has ever cautioned us has done so to preserve us from harm. The parent who calls a child back from a busy road is not limiting freedom but protecting life. The friend who urges us to reconsider a destructive choice is not judging, but safeguarding our future. In the same way, when God warns through the fragile presence of a dying woman, the intention is not to terrify but to awaken. It is an act of mercy wrapped in solemnity. We often imagine mercy as gentle comfort, as reassurance, as soothing words that calm our anxiety. But mercy can also take the form of interruption. It can appear as a sudden realization that shakes us from careless living. The dying woman's fading breath interrupts our illusions. Her nearing eternity disrupts our assumption that life will stretch endlessly before us. This disruption may feel unsettling, but without it we might continue drifting toward regret. A warning is valuable precisely because it arrives before it is too late. If danger were already upon us with no chance of escape, a warning would serve no purpose. Its very presence implies hope. It suggests that change is still possible, that direction can still be altered, that hearts can still be softened. The dying woman's condition stands as a living message that time is real and limited. That message is not given to crush us, but to guide us. It urges us to examine our priorities while we still have strength to adjust them. It calls us to mend relationships before words can no longer be spoken. It invites us to seek God while our minds are clear and our days remain. There is compassion in this urgency. Consider what it is we were about to rush life toward eternity without reflection, without thought, without invitation to reconsider. That would be far more severe. Silence in the face of approaching reality would be indifference. But a warning implies concern. It reveals that we are not unnoticed, not forgotten, not abandoned to fate. The dying woman's quiet tone declares that life is meaningful enough to be darkened by divine reminders. Even her weakness becomes a channel of grace. Mercy does not always arrive in celebration. Sometimes it comes in solemn clarity. The clarity offered by a final season of life is a gift to those who observe it. It says, carefully, learn now what you should not learn later. It says, value what endures rather than what fades. It says, turn your heart toward what is eternal while you still can. These are not threats, they are invitations. So may be seriously promoted in love. We resist warnings because they expose our vulnerability. They force us to admit that we are not in complete control. Yet vulnerability has not when we accept that our days are finite, we begin to live with intention. When we recognize that eternity is not an abstract concept, but a coming reality, we treat our choices with greater care. The warning becomes a compass rather than a chain, direct rather than compromise. The dying woman's final chapter may seem heavy with sorrow, but within it lies profound generosity. Her life, even in its ending, serves as guidance for others. She becomes a messenger without striving to be one. Through her, God gently presses upon our hearts the importance of reconciliation, faith, humility, and love. He does not shout condemnation. He offers awakening. He does not delight in fear. He extends opportunity. Every breath we still possess is evidence that the warning has purpose. It means we have not yet reached the point of no return. It means there is still time to forgive, to stay, to seek, to trust. Mercy often appears in the form of the second chance, but before the second chance comes the realization one is needed. The dying woman's presence provides that realization. She stands at the edge of eternity, and her nearness to it illuminates our own path. If we receive the warning with humility rather than resistance, it becomes a profound gift. It redirects our steps toward what matters most. It reshapes our values before the heart is. It invites us into a deeper relationship with God while our hearts are still responding. In this life, the warning is not a shallow Let us receive it with humility. Let us forgive while we have time. Let us love without delay. Let us seek Him while our hearts are still strong enough to respond. Let us live so that when our final hour comes, it will not be filled with passion, but with humility. Do not ignore the mental trap of prayer warriors. Do not try to be resistant because it is soft. Sometimes heaven speaks most urgently through the quietest voices. Listen now, live wisely, and let your remaining days be shaped by what truly lasts.